When we do the bank reconciliation, the first thing that we have to do is we must look at the bank reconciliation in the previous month and see what did we write down in that previous reconciliation that the bank must do in the current month. So first of all, we will look at the bank statement and see if these entries were completed. So there was an outstanding deposit of 624 that appears in the new bank statement. Then there was 2 EFTs for 143 and 130. So that appeared, and there was a mistake that they had to correct for 160, and there was an incorrect deposit of 20. So it means all the things that we wrote down in the previous month, the bank did. So there's no outstanding entries from the previous month that they still have to do. Now, in an exercise, they can either give you a sentence in which they tell you what is the bank balance, or they can give you the previous month's bank reconciliation. So that is the bank balance that you ended with in the previous month, and that will be the bank balance that you will have in the current month. Okay, so in this case, we've added together and we saw that the total on the credit side was 784. Now I will take that 784 and I will subtract the figures on the debit side: 187, 143, 130 and 20. And that will give me a difference of the 304 rand. So that means that this debit balance here must be 304. So by balancing my debit and credit column, I determine what is this balance. Okay, that balance that we've got there, the 304, is the amount that we will start in our bank account. So here in the bank account, I will show that we have a balance of 304 on the first day of the month. Okay, then we go to our cash receipts journal and we determine if all the money that we posted and deposited this month appeared on the bank statement. So there's a 1829, a 693, 1542, 2448, 3904, 827. And the 827 is not there. So it means this entry did not appear on the bank statement. So we recorded our cash receipts journal up to the 31st of May, and we received the bank statement before the time. So it means that we will have to record this amount on your bank recon to indicate that that's something that the bank must do in the future. If we look at our cash payments journal, I will also tick off the amounts. So there is a payment of 370, 1814, 1260, 274, 562, 149, 458, 333, and those are not there. So it means in my cash payments journal there was one EFT that I already recorded. The bank did not record it, so it means this one will go on the bank recon to show that the bank must record it in the future. Okay, so when I do the entries now, I will have to read first of all what is this additional information that they gave me, and then I decide where I have to record the rest of the entries. in this exercise, they ask you to do the cash receipts and cash payments journal. So the amounts that they've got in this cash receipts and cash payments journal is the amounts where they ended. So according to our cash receipts, that was our last figure, was 11,225. So we will start with 11,225. If I look at my cash payments journal, the last figure that we ended off was 6060. So I will start in the bank with 6060. Okay, so now we will read this additional information to see how we have to record it in our cash receipts and cash payments journal. The deposit amount of 1524 on the 10th of May is incorrect. It should have been 1542 as per the bank statement. Okay, so if I look in my deposits, I have a deposit of 1524. So there is 1524. If I look on my bank statement, the amount is 1542. Okay, so it means one of us switched some of the amounts around. Now we have to determine who made the mistake. They say this deposit is incorrect. It should have been 1542 as per the bank statement. So the bank statement is correct. We have to correct it in our books. Now look at the figures and decide whether we have to increase the figures or decrease the figures. In the cash payments, we recorded cash receipts, we recorded 1524. The amount should actually be 1542. So that means that we did not put enough in the cash receipts journal, and we will record the difference between the two in the cash receipts journal. So I will show that this information appeared on the bank statement. It was a deposit where we made a mistake, and I will subtract the two figures from each other to determine what is the difference between the two. So I will say 1542, and I will subtract 1452, and that will give me 18 Rand. So it means I've actually got 18 Rand more in the business as the amount that I recorded. So this was a mistake corrected. They don't say that you recorded it in a column incorrectly, so it means it was just the figure that you put into your cash receipts journal where you made a mistake. Okay, the next entry is the deposit of 210 is incorrect. It was debited to the owner's personal bank account of J. Ross. So here is a deposit of 210. It should not appear on the bank statement of the business. It should appear on the bank statement of the owner. So I have to record that entry in my bank reconciliation statement. Okay, so we will have a balance according to bank statement, and we will have to look and see whether they give me this information. So I'm not going to read through everything now, because that's when you don't finish a test. When they give me the figure, I will just include the figure. Okay, the mistake that was made is that they showed a deposit of 210 that's not supposed to be of the bank statement. So it means that we have to debit the bank reconciliation, because that is how they will record it. So the 210 is a deposit that was not supposed to be there, so it's debit incorrect deposit. So when the bank must correct something, you show it in the bank reconciliation statement. Okay, the next entry, the deposit of 170 was debited directly by a debtor, S. Barry. So if I look on my bank statement, I see that that deposit of 170 Rand was deposited on the 30th of May. It already appeared on the bank statement, but it did not appear on my books, so I must show that we have to include it in our cash receipts journal, the 170. Okay, that money was received from a debtor, S. Barry, so we will show that we can also transfer it to his personal account, that he deposited 170 in the bank, and I will show the 170 for the double entry under the debtor's control. The debit order of 80 was in favor of Sanlam for monthly insurance. Okay, so there's a debit order for 80 Rand. It was not recorded in my books, so I have to show it now in my cash payments journal. So in the cash payments journal, I will show that we've got a payment of 80 Rand for that insurance. So it was paid out to Sanlam. This appeared on the bank statement. The amount is 80 Rand, and I will show in the sundry columns 80 Rand, and it will be posted to my insurance account. The sundry debit of 20 Rand was to correct the mistake on the previous bank statement, so it is that one that we've already done. And the sundry credit of 114 is a direct deposit for the rent paid by P. Peters. So in my cash receipts journal again, I have to show that we received money, and from P. Peters, this information appeared on the bank statement, and they say the amount is 414 Rand, and it is for rent income. Okay, and then I will show that I've done the 114 Rand now that they told me was done. Okay, so every one that I've corrected already, I show that I've done it, so that when I look at the books that I don't wonder, must I still do this or not, and then I waste time reading again. So the only things that I must still do is the ones where there's no marks next to it. Okay, I'm going to start and say the amounts that appeared on the cash receipts journal that did not appear on the bank reconciliation is the first ones that I will post. So here was a 827 that we've already recorded in the cash receipts journal. They still have to record it, and what we do on the debit side, they do on the credit side. So it means that we will show there's an outstanding deposit that they still have to record on the credit side, 827 Rand. Okay, then I've done the cash receipts. So if I look at the cash payments, there was a payment of 840 that was not completed. So it means that I will show they will do that on the debit side, debit the outstanding EFT, and they will show that the money in the bank will decrease with that 840. Okay, then we will look at the bank statement and decide which of these entries must still be recorded in our books. Now, if I look at the deposit side, that means the things that must be recorded in your cash receipts journal. The only one that was not recorded was the 22 Rand. So it means that I will go to my cash receipts journal and I will show that that 22 Rand increases the money, and it was for interest that we received. So we received it from the bank. It appeared on the bank statement, and I will show that is interest on current account. So interest on current account is when I've got a favorable bank balance. It means I've got more money in the bank than I spent. Okay, then I will go to my cash payments journal to see which entries must still be recorded. And if I look here, there's an interest of 18 on the debit side. So it means in this month, sometimes we had a bank overdraft and sometimes we had a favorable balance. So that's why there's interest that is a payment and there's interest that we received. So this 18 Rand must go in your cash payments journal, and I will show that we got this information from the bank on the bank statement 18, and that would give me interest on overdraft. So it will be posted to my bank account, interest on overdraft. Okay, then if I look on the debit side, there are amount of 24 Rand and one of 14. Both those were for bank charges, so that's money that we pay to the bank. I will add them together and show on the cash payments journal. This is money that the bank just took from our bank account, and that gives me 38 Rand, and all expenses that we pay to the bank is called bank charges, except interest is not called bank charges. Okay, so we will go to the beginning and we'll say, okay, now we have to add the amounts that was in the cash receipts journal, and that would give me 11,549, 8181, 1690, and 1678. So the amount that we received in our bank on the debit side is 11,000, and I will transfer that to the debit side of my bank account. Total receipts, cash receipts journal, and it is 11,549. In the cash payments journal, we will also add the totals, and it will give me 6,196, 1484, 3167, and 1545. So this amount in my bank column will go to the credit side of my bank account. So on the credit side, I will show May the 31st total payments, cash payments journal 6196. Okay, so now I've posted all the entries that we've done for the full month, because they gave us the totals up to the end of the month, and we've done the additional entries in our cash receipts and cash payments. So I will add up the debit side and subtract the credit side to see what is my balance. So on the debit side, the total is 11,853. So it means the total on the credit side must be the same. Remember, the two totals must always be on the same line, and you're not allowed to write any words next to the total. If I look at the credit side, it's much smaller than the total, so it means I will subtract the 6196 from the 11,853 to determine what is the difference between the debit and the credit side, and that difference we call the balance. So above the total, it's the balance that we will carry down to the next month. Below the total, I will show that on June the 1st, I brought down a balance from the previous month. So it means it indicates to me that I've got 5657 in the bank. Okay, this balance that I've got in the bank is the amount that I must record in my bank reconciliation. So that balance is on the debit side, so you always record it on the same side as what they give you. So 5657, and I will show here debit balance according to bank account. Okay, now I've done everything in the different accounts. The only figure that I need is my bank statement figure, and that means that I will show the closing balance in the bank statement, so that where they stopped, we will start with it in the bank recon. So it's a credit balance according to the bank statement, 5880. How do I know it's on the credit side? Because what we record on the debit side of the bank, they will record on the credit side. So our favorable balance is on the debit side, and in their books a favorable balance is on the credit side. In our books it's an asset, in their books we are a liability to them. Okay, sometimes when you don't have the full bank statement, you will have to calculate this figure if they don't give it to you somewhere in the exercise. So it means you will add up the debit side and say 6707. That means this total must be the same. So if I subtract the 827, I would get the 5880. In this exercise, they gave us the bank statement, so I could just use the last figure on the bank statement where they completed their entries and show they have to carry on here and complete the additional entries, and the balances is always on the side that it appears in the bank statement. So this one will appear on the bank statement in the credit side. That's why we show it in the credit column. The bank balance appeared on the debit side, so that's why we show it on the debit side. All the information between the two balances will always be done in the way that the bank will do it. So they will show deposits on the credit side, and they will show EFTs on the debit side. So it's very important that you must realize that at the end of the month, after you receive the bank statement, you have to reconcile this bank statement with your own books to ensure that there's no fraud or there's no mistakes or omissions. If we made a mistake or left something out, it will appear in our books. If the bank made a mistake or they must still record certain entries, it will be recorded in the bank reconciliation statement.